All right, everybody. So right here, I got a special guest. His name is Mauro, and he's gonna talk to us about his saltwater experience and possibly even freshwater. But we're gonna extract as much knowledge as we can from him. So I would like to introduce you guys to Mauro. How you doing, Mauro? How's your day today?
It's been going well so far. Just cleaning the house, drinking some tea. I'm gonna get to a water change in a little while. Thank you so much for the invite. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So I just want to start off. So how long you been in the hobby, or how did you get started in the hobby?
Um, you know what? Can you excuse me for 1 second? I'm gonna let my dog out.
Yeah, go for it, go for it.
And I'll just leave the door open for her. Yeah. So when I was a little kid, I came across a puddle that a car had burnt rubber and left like a little hole. And I lived in a housing project, and so there wasn't a lot of biodiversity there.
Yeah.
And I get in trouble, and when I get in trouble, I would read books about the jungle and the oceans. So I always had this fascination with places that had a lot of biodiversity.
Yeah.
And one day after a rain, it was just a nice day out, and I happened to see that there was water where this car had burnt rubber up on the lawn. Because sometimes in the projects, people would take their car up on the lawn and park it in front of their house and not on the street. Um, and I saw these little things moving around in there, and I was like I tripped out. Like, how does life come to be in this puddle in the middle of the projects that it's just lawn. There's not a lot of biodiversity. It really tripped me out. And then later on, we moved, and we happened to live maybe a 15-minute bike ride from this place called Capitol Aquarium in Sacramento.
Oh, right on.
And it was a bit of an institution in town. Like, people would go there, like folks visit the zoo. So I remember being around 12 years old and riding my bike there, and I would just spend the day there looking at all the fish. They had an alligator named Godzilla. They had an electric eel named Smud. And so they had a freshwater and a saltwater side. And, I would just get lost there. It was a beautiful, magical place for me. And so I got my first fish tank around that time. It was a 10-gallon with the under gravel filter, and I had some mollies and platies, just regular live bearers. You could get them at Woolworth, and I think I might have got them at Woolworth back when Woolworth was open.
Right on.
And so after that, I always started keeping a tank, and I always kind of strive to replicate nature as much as I could. And so, so then from there to maybe 20 years later, I stayed with it consistently. And my friends got me into cichlids.
Oh yeah,
and I had some German rams and some discus.
Oh,
and
man.
I worked with a lot of, everybody I worked with was an engineer, or an environmental scientist of some sort. And we started competing to see who could breed discus and rams first.
Oh, right on.
And they had a more scientific background than me. And so they were, and they had a higher salary than me. Because, I was like an administrative assistant, and they were engineers.
Yeah.
So they had more money than me, too, because it's not a cheap hobby.
No, it's not.
And so we were all competing, and I would go to like the Capitol, and I would pick up oak leaves, and I would use those to bring down my pH.
Yeah.
And tannins off the logs that I would find and kind of clean by putting in the pond. So it got to a point where
That's all good. I got dogs too. Don't worry.
yeah. And so, now I have one, two, three, four ponds.
Wow.
I have two little fish tanks that I keep like ghost shrimp in and a coolie loach and a lot of plants. And I use that to like pull the when I siphon it, I use that to feed plants that that I take care of, and then the ghost shrimp I feed to my seahorse now and then. So, anyways,
Yeah, yeah.
after the discus, I wanted to try my hand at saltwater,
Yeah.
and I started with an Eclipse 12-gallon.
Okay.
And it did really well. Coralline algae was thriving in it. Everything was doing well. I just lost interest for a while. And then I didn't have a fish tank for about 10 years maybe.
Wow. Yeah.
And then about 2 years ago, my daughter wanted a beta.
Yeah.
And so I took her to pick one out, and she said she wanted to wait for her mom to help her decide.
Yeah.
And so I came home with a 33-gallon lowboy, a bunch of bed, lights.
Yeah.
And I went with the lowboy because I was aware enough about the light being really critical for a lot of the corals. And if I had a deep tank, then it would, I'd have to invest a lot more in lights.
Yeah, yeah.
Or that's at least my understanding.
Yeah, yeah. The shallower, the easier to light up the tank, and they actually look really a lot nicer than a lot of deep tanks.
Yeah, I agree. It seems more natural to a reef. To have this shallow thing. But anyways, so I got that tank, and it's mostly soft corals.
Okay.
And I have a lot of mushrooms. My pride and joy is a bounce mushroom.
Yeah.
And I have a seahorse in there. There was another one that died because it went for some food and got stung by an Aptasia anemone.
Oh wow, yeah.
But everything else is thriving. The mushrooms have split.
Oh, right on.
I don't test too often. I just do a lot of water changes. I'm like really consistent on water changes. And when I started doing the tanks, I would go to Wet Web Media, and this guy Bob Fenner just was a treasure trove of information. So I've had an octopus, and it lived a good year and a half, which is their lifespan.
Yeah.
For that particular one. And the seahorse I've had going on 2 years, so I'll stop in case you got any questions.
Oh no, keep going. Yeah. So just walk us through. So what do you recommend, like a new beginner starting like a tank? Like how did you cycle your aquarium and stuff, or did it already come out pre-cycled?
That I think is, and I hope I'm not misusing the word, inherent to the person already. I would say that I've made a lot of mistakes out of impatience.
Yeah.
I think patience and cycling your tank, there's this huge impulse to buy and to fill it and have, pretty fish right away.
Yeah.
And so that's probably my most valuable lesson, is to just be really patient with cycling. So I plan to start another tank soon, to move the stuff from this tank to the new tank. And I'll probably go 6 weeks with nothing in it, just with the water running and some rock, and then just slowly add stuff. And a lot of it is experience. I think the new tank I'll probably have the aquascaping set in. I'll have it so it's not scratching the glass
Yeah.
on the bottom. Just there's a level of engineering, I think, to it, and there's a lot of different paths one could take. I don't have I don't know if it's called a refugium or a sump, but I've always wanted one. I just haven't been that sophisticated in my fish keeping. I have a hang-on back filter, 2 power heads to move it, and I use a lot of like high quality charcoal, and like I said, water changes and vacuuming. I think I'm gonna start adding more sand to make my sand bed even deeper.
Right on.
And kind of take that. I would say, is it called holistic? Yeah, the less, the more. I guess organic route, you would call it. If I could, I would like to put in some lights so that I can grow mangroves out of it even.
Oh, right on. Well, what kind of lighting are you using on your little reef?
It's the Ocean Revive.
Okay. The LEDs or T5? Sorry, I'm not too familiar with those.
Oh, they're LEDs.
LEDs, right on. Okay.
Yeah. Right underneath it, everything is thriving. And so I have a little cheaper one on the side, but I really just need to, invest in the same set so that it covers the tank evenly. Again, like I said, it's an expensive hobby.
Right on. Well, what kind of salt are you using?
The salt I use is the Red Sea salt.
The Red Sea?
Yeah. I used to use the black bucket, which was the better one, and now I use the blue bucket.
Now you use the blue bucket, right on.
Yeah.
So do you have your tank right next to you, or could you?
Let me see.
Or is it too hard to adjust the camera? Yeah.
My thing broke on the glass, but.
Oh yeah, now that's a tank right there.
Oh, yeah, my scraper broke, but I don't know if you can see it's an anemone, or I thought it was a mushroom, but it's pretty big.
Is it a carpet anemone?
Maybe. I thought it as a little mushroom, and it's probably that big now.
Oh wow, yeah.
The Kenya tree in the back is out of control. I got zoas right there. Damn, my scraper just broke.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
St. Thomas mushroom. I got a lot of fan worms. I like the fan worms and the cocoa worms.
Okay, yeah.
And I got a yellow one. A lot of mushrooms. And I got a gorgonian that's been going for a year. It's getting some fuzz on it, so I think my water quality has been taking a dip. And then I got a lot of sponges, like blue sponges, orange sponges. That's kind of my my philosophy is that the more biodiversity you got, the better your tank is, because everything kind of balances everything out. And climate change scientists, in trying to sequester carbon in the soil, they're pushing for biodiversity, because the stuff that lives under the ground, the more there is, the better everything works together. And so, the fireworms, I leave them in there. They don't bother me.
All right. So how much rock you got in there, and how much sand?
The sand is probably 2 inches across, and I want to take it up to like 3 or 4 actually.
3 or 4, okay.
Yeah. And then the rock, I don't have a lot, and I do have a lot of it in a box.
Okay.
Problem.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't. At the end, I wanted less rock.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a tall aquarium.
So your favorite coral is a bounce mushroom? Or is it a big one or is it a small one?
Let's see if I can. It's. Tablet. Yeah, there's the bounce right there.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. So what kind of corals you got in there? I see a variety of corals in there.
Um, the corals. It's mostly all mushrooms.
Mostly all mushrooms.
Yeah, all mushrooms and fan worms and zoonothids.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you have a little frag rack or
Yeah, that's what I got them on a frag rack so that the should I just leave it looking at the tank?
up to you, it's up to you.
Yeah, I have them on a frag rack so that there would be water circulation underneath
Hmm.
them. I didn't want to have stagnant things, and I got this tray where I just pull out the rack and I can vacuum underneath it.
Oh, right on. So
So
so what do you think's the hardest part about the hobby and what do you think's the easiest?
I think again, it's probably patience
Mm-hmm.
because the longer you're in it, things that like maybe just seem really easy to us are probably not easy to a beginner.
Mm-hmm.
And like I made a lot of mistakes and probably lost a lot of money on corals that died because I was in a rush to just have this pretty tank and not realize that even the people with the nicest tanks, often it takes them a year or two to get there with the best planning.
Yeah.
Um, just for things to stabilize um, and I've seen people in the hobby talk about that's a 5 year tank, a 10 year tank, and so in some ways, I'm learning that there's going to be crashes at points or to expect them, and so that's why I'm trying to move my tank and start like doing these things slowly.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just being patient, and it took me a while to appreciate low fish count. And,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe as I grow in the hobby and I can afford better equipment and a bigger thing, I'll have a dense school of fish swimming because that's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But I know my system couldn't handle that. So understanding, um, learning to balance things.
Yeah. Right on. So what do you think's more important? Lighting, chemistry, water flow, filtration? What do you think's the most important?
Um, for me, given the type of corals I have, which can do lower light,
Mm-hmm.
I would think it's probably water chemistry.
Water chemistry? Yeah.
Yeah, making sure they have really clean water.
Yeah, I think so too.
If I had a low light, it can't grow. Certain corals that are in the ocean live close to the surface.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say water quality.
Water quality, right on. So what are your water parameters on average like what do you keep like your magnesium, your calcium and
See, I don't even test for those things. The only thing I was really testing for was alkalinity
uh-huh.
and pH, and yeah, it's been a while because, like I said, I do heavy water changes.
Right on. Do you dose anything in the aquarium?
No, because the pet store said that the salt I use is like a really good salt,
Mm-hmm.
and that I probably do more water changes than I need to. But if I don't do them, I start to see the red dusting on the sand.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you gravel vac your sand every water change, or
Yeah,
yeah,
I'll do different sections. I don't do the whole thing. Like I'll do maybe a third of it,
mm-hmm.
and it comes out pretty dirty.
Yeah.
There's still a backlog of dirt in there, and so I think with the rock and everything in there, there's probably 20 gallons in there, 23.
Oh, really?
And,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and I'll do a 10-gallon water change today.
It looks like a really big tank, honestly. It looks probably like a 50-gallon from here, but
It's a 33.
wow.
Yeah.
So how long is it? What are the dimensions on that little aquarium?
48, 12, and like 14, 16.
Oh wow, that's a really nice size. Uh-huh.
So the stand is still the 55-gallon stand.
Okay.
The footprint is the same as a 55-gallon. It's just not as tall.
Oh, I see. Wow. And do you run a protein skimmer or anything like that?
No. And the reason being that the bubbles, it generates
Mm-hmm.
give the seahorse gas bubble disease.
Oh yeah, big time.
So seahorses, they're prone to that disease where they get these bubbles under the skin. And I noticed when I pull it out, the bubbles went away and they were fine.
Uh-huh.
And so I have a loyalty to the seahorse, but
Yeah.
when if he passes away, I won't get another seahorse because they're so high maintenance.
Oh yeah, big time. What do you feed your seahorses?
Now it's mysis shrimp, and then as a treat, ghost shrimp, just to keep them, a little bit predatory.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's Christmas. I might aqua barn a bunch of pods and.
Yeah, right on. You ever thought about drilling the aquarium or adding like a hang-on overflow box for a sump or anything like that?
Not this one, but the next one. Yeah, I plan to up my plumbing game
Mm-hmm.
for the aquarium.
Well, what's your next next size tank? You thinking about a reef ready or an all-in-one?
Yeah. See, I haven't even thought it that far.
Mm-hmm.
Like I haven't researched the different types. I do know that I want like the little fish tank underneath
Mm-hmm.
the stand with its own light and all the bad algae and everything growing in there and keeping it out of my display. So I want to have I've looked at Calypso's reef and the links you showed me, and I want my display to look a little bit more less like a sunken ship. It's more like
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. Oh, I'm glad you checked out Calypso. He's really cool. He's gonna start using my salt pretty soon, so it's pretty cool. Yeah, he goes live almost every day, so he's a pretty cool channel to follow. And then if you follow him, he's planning on setting like a little frag system so he can start selling frags for cheap for everybody. So he's someone really cool to check out. Yeah. So what other YouTubers do you follow in the hobby?
I don't know their names.
Mm-hmm.
There's an Asian guy.
Oh, there's two.
And,
Uh-huh.
Sometimes he would have his kid on there and his wife on there.
Oh, it's inappropriate reefer.
Um, so him,
Uh huh.
and then I do follow BRS. You know, where they put
BRS.
out their videos and the training stuff, and um, and then it's just scrolling through YouTube for attention grabbing titles or clips, and I'll watch those. And yeah, but I would think the one I followed the most would be BRS.
BRS, right on.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah. I check out their videos a lot often. Their company grew a lot. They're starting to buy out all the other like what's called like different businesses are somewhat related to the hobby. Yeah. Some people are wondering if there's gonna be a one big like monopoly or something, but I mean I don't know. I mean, but I think they should just go for it. I mean, why not? Try to grow.
Yeah, I haven't bought stuff from them. I like going to just the stores and like the local fish stores I go to. I can haggle, I can trade stuff. So I've never, I don't think I've ever bought anything online.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember.
I didn't even want to travel another town to check out their fish stores.
Yeah. Right on. So what are those lights adjustable? Like what's your favorite Kelvin temperature to run your aquarium lights? Like do you prefer the wider or the bluer spectrum?
So it's a range of 1 to 100, and I know the local fish store would have like 4 of them over like a 500-gallon lowboy, and they would run them at 100 at maybe 2-3 feet off. These are only like 8 inches off, and so it would probably benefit if I had something hanging and it was more spread out because there's shadows and pockets. But I run the blue at 55 out of 100, and the white like at 3 or 4. I don't know what that would translate to in
the percentages. Okay, yeah. So what he's saying, guys, is that those lights are adjustable, right? The colors and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's adjusting the colors between 100% and like to 1% or 100%. So based on what you said, you probably run them pretty blue, probably around maybe 14 to 20K or so. So that's really cool.
Yeah, they're pretty blue. And it's just a blue and a white. In the bedroom, I had a smaller tank. That was a hospital tank for this, but it dried out. I stopped taking care of it. And that one has a nice lighting system that you do through an app. So you can do greens, yellows, reds, blues, whites. And you can set up thunderstorms. It's pretty neat. The technology out there is pretty neat.
Yeah. So do you have anything fancy technology? Because I know you could do water changes from like across the world and stuff. Like on my little tank, it's pretty simple. I mean, I think it's probably still old school. It runs on like regular knobs and stuff. But I always like seeing if anybody has anything fancy in their aquarium because it's really cool. It's fascinating what people have now.
Yeah, those lights would be the fanciest. They're for the nano tank, and there's actually no knobs on it. You have to use your phone.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can set it up to start at a certain, you can start at 5 par, and every 5 minutes it goes up a par to replicate the sunrise. You can replicate the sunlight, the sundown, and then you can have a night setting where it's like just maybe the green light, and it doesn't mess with the photosynthetic period of the corals. It wasn't expensive. It was like $100, but it's only for like a 5-gallon tank.
Yeah.
And that's pretty neat technology to me. That's as sophisticated as I've gotten.
No, it looks cool. Looks cool. So how long has that tank been set up for?
I had it for about a year with dwarf seahorses,
Okay.
and over the course of the year, 8 of them died. One at a time here and there, and then after that, I just let the water go. So there's like a third of water in there.
Yeah.
Everything's unplugged.
Right
I gotta
on.
clean it out and fire it back up.
So by curiosity,
It's a lot of work.
uh-huh. Dude,
It's a lot of time um, without the sophisticated plumbing because it's a lot of water changes, like I said. And, go to the store, get the RODI because I don't have a RODI unit. Takes time, and then mixing it and pouring, testing it, and so it's a chore.
yeah, it is. It's
And,
like full maintenance, almost another wife almost.
it that way, but like you said, if money is no object, I've seen the top off technology to some, and the feeding thing. So, like you said, you could do a water change basically from across the world on your phone.
Yeah.
And, but that's a lot of foundational stuff that I just don't have.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, honestly. Cause even then your equipment could fail and then just crash your tank also. Just it's crazy.
Yeah.
By curiosity,
No, yeah, and it's a big investment for folks. We got a lot of corals in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that put money in it. Yeah.
It's painful.
Yeah, just by curiosity, do you recommend seahorses? Like, I mean, I've kept them just long enough to sell them to people, whatever. When I used to work at a pet store, but do you recommend seahorses to anybody? Because I was thinking of adding a seahorse to my little tank or a different system, but I'm a little iffy about it because sometimes they're pretty expensive, and I notice a lot of times they just die on people.
Um, if someone did get seahorses, I would encourage them to buy captive bred ones, which would take frozen food right off the top. Um, those little dwarf ones, I had to be constantly breeding baby brine shrimp for hatching.
Yeah.
And that's a chore. And if I did do a seahorse like this one, sometimes I feel like I do it a disservice in a low tank because if I did a seahorse tank, I would have a tall tank. I wouldn't worry so much about the light, and I would have just really tall grass on a bed of really fine sand, and that would be it. And so, I could still siphon the gravel because they're heavy waste on them, and so that way I would do it. I wouldn't do it with a coral tank again. I don't.
No, just by curiosity, they don't like the rock or anything like that.
No, they attach to stuff and they're fine, but I think it would be happier with just a tall grass tank.
Yeah.
I think that's closer to where they're in nature. So I do like biotopes where you try to just replicate their environment, and so under those conditions I would. For a little tank like yours, a dwarf seahorse with, if you had some type of branching, like dead man's finger algae.
Oh, okay.
That could probably be cool, but if they get stung by anything, they'll die.
Oh man, so even your corals will sting them and stuff.
Some will. The St. Thomas is supposed to be a stinger, but all the ones I've got, I made sure they weren't harmful to the seahorse.
Oh, right on.
So yeah, and that's why again it's mostly mushrooms and fan worms and sponges.
I see. Well, maybe that's why SPS core are kind of out of the picture for you. But I noticed you have a power head in there. How many power heads you got in there?
2.
You got 2?
Yeah, one one is going high and off to the right, the other one's going low off to the left, and then the hang-on filter in the back kind of breaks that up.
Right on. Is a flow pretty fast for the seahorses, or do you think they could tolerate a lot of flow?
I think they could tolerate a lot of flow. I think what initially was known about seahorses has changed a lot as more and more have been captive bred, and the conditions just changed for them. And actually, where the current was strong, so right now this one's alone, and he looks healthy as ever. So if I find a big one, I'll get him company again. And even though it's a chore, I don't want him to be alone, and I don't trust someone else to take care of him. So, yeah. But when it was two of them, and the power head was going really strong, they swam in it.
Oh no!
So yeah, they would do, like, instead of swimming upright like a horse, they would do a Superman, and they would stretch out, and they would play in the current.
Oh wow, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot. Yeah.
And the previous knowledge was that current was really bad for them, and that you didn't want it, but mine played in it.
Yeah, no, it's good to know, because I like asking people that have kept them, because like I said, I've only kept them long enough in a little cubicle to sell them, but I never really kept one. And I always see them, like you said, with a lot of caulerpa or some kind of algae grass looking thing, and not that much flow. But I'm glad you said all this stuff, because it just adds more knowledge to people.
Yeah, they reminded me like of little dinosaurs, and people think of them as peaceful, but they're highly predatory. All day long, they're on the lookout for something to eat, and that's why I give them the ghost shrimp, because I feel like they've gotten lazy, having wiped out the copepod population. They'll wipe it out fast.
Wow, yeah.
Because they're just so efficient at hunting. And when I had the little mangrove trees, they reminded me of monkeys. They would be up and they would come down and they would interact. They were very social. Damn, the more I'm talking, the more I'm like, fuck, I gotta go buy a seahorse.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
I'm solitary.
No, that's good. You're gonna convince more people to get a seahorse right now. That's good.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go get one, because this guy shouldn't be alone.
Yeah, I might call this somewhat also like a seahorse tanker. You know what I mean? Seahorse tanker, something like that. That'd be pretty cool. So
yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, so I was gonna ask you. So do you know, or are you able to tell the difference between the males and the females?
Yeah, the females have like their tail, like, say this is the bottom of their body, and it's really defined, and the males have an obvious pouch, like from the bottom of the stomach to a part of the tail. So there's a little triangle there that looks like elbow skin. It's not seemingly, it's actually, I think the girls are a lot prettier because they don't have that. because the males, they carry the eggs to hatching. They have that pouch, and I couldn't breed them here because they actually need a tall tank to do their mating dance.
Oh,
and
wow.
So when I had them, they would start to do the dance, but the tank wasn't tall enough. And so when I start my new tank, I'll probably get rid of this one and then get a tall tank, just for like a 20-gallon, but a tall one, just for the seahorses. And the goal is always to make it like as sustainable as possible, where you don't have to mess with it so much. And I think like all that plant life will eat up a lot of the nutrients, so it becomes a filter. but yeah, that's the difference between them. Is that little pouch.
Yeah, yeah. Right on. That's good to know.
No, it's really easy to tell.
It's really easy. Okay, that's good to know because a lot of people are interested, even me. So you said you need a lot, like a taller tank. How tall do you recommend it for them to do their mating dance?
Um, it it would depend on the seahorse, I think, because there's like some species that are really big.
Yeah.
And the dwarf ones I mentioned, they're probably the size of a dime.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get. Some little pygmy seahorses, the dwarf ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought them online. They're like ridiculously cheap.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, like
God.
10 of them for $25. It's crazy how cheap they are. But you gotta hatch baby brine shrimp all the time, or have them in a tank that produces enough live food for them to to sustain themselves. Ideally, it'd be both.
Yeah.
You supplement it, and they don't eat off everything, so that it can keep replicating. But I think a 20-gallon would probably do it. And the lights, I don't think Calubra and them need a lot of light. I could be wrong. Or at least not the kind of lights that SPS coral need.
Yeah, you don't need that intense lighting. Yeah.
And so I don't think they're hard to breed. I think mine's wanted to. Mine's have been happy. It died unfortunately because it got stung by an aptasia, and you can tell when that happens because they'll just stop eating and they act like they're in shock.
Oh wow! Yeah,
they just waste away. Like there's no ick or any of the fish diseases you see. They're just in shock, like really stiff, like and it is sad. But yeah, I would recommend seahorses, and again, the captive bred ones are definitely worth it, because if you get a wild caught one, it needs live food. It's not gonna take any frozen food unless you train it. And I actually bought one like kind of to rescue it after I learned that, and I had two that would eat frozen food, and so what I would get the live ghost shrimp, and then I would put flakes on it, and then I would put the frozen mysis to thaw out on top of it. And so the wild one was going after the live shrimp, but it was tasting the mysis and the flake on it, and then eventually it just started eating frozen food. And that one, when I bought it, it was bright yellow, and she got stung. She was brown, so the background has a lot to do with it. I've been told that a blue background on your tank will make your seahorses turn yellow.
Oh wow! Right on.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that. That's really cool.
There's a guy at my local fish store. I told him about this and asked him if he'd be interested as well. He's probably the most knowledgeable LFS employee I've ever dealt with. Because a lot of times you go to some of these commercial places and the staff are kind of clueless. They're pulling stuff out of the water to put it in the bag that should never be pulled out of the water.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't do that, and so and he's RAZA too.
Oh, RAZA, right on.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good.
That's why I mentioned this to him. But he's pretty sharp. He's got a few tanks, and much more knowledgeable about the technical things like PAR and the salinity is like a given. I do test for salinity.
Yeah.
That'd be ridiculous. That too, but he tests for all those other things: magnesium, calcium, and so I'd be happy to introduce you to.
Yeah, he sounds like a really cool guy. No, that's good. Yeah, because that's my plan. I want to interview a lot of RAZA that, even if they don't know anything, but they have a fish, even if it's just a beta, just to encourage more of us to enter the hobby, because I know there's a lot of us that are curious about it, but they're either scared or they just don't know how, and so I just want to encourage people to start joining in the hobby.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. I like when I first bred those rams. I felt like I was the parent to those little fish in a way. I was really proud of it, and
Yeah.
that actually, now that I think about it, because as part of that, with those cichlids, I got into aquascaping. And on the freshwater side, you know, if folks want to be odd and inspired, they can go to Aquatic Gardener Association aquascaping contest, and like you will see works of art.
Yeah.
And they had a similar display one time at the Conservatory of Flowers in San Francisco. And I went, you know, because I like garden plants and you know, like the way I like. So when like I said earlier, just kind of to tie it back, as a little kid, I'd get in trouble and I'd always read about the jungle and the ocean, and I wanted to live there.
Yeah.
And so my yard looks like a jungle, and I have this reef tank. So I'm kind of like bringing that to me until I can get there and live in the jungle. And the ocean, or I can go out to the reef and look at stuff, and you know, maybe bring my home and eat them too.
Yeah.
But so there's that sense of inspiration already. And so anyways, I think it brings nature into your house, and it makes I think it adds good like feng shui to a house or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if it does or what the theory is on it, but I think it makes a house more beautiful. I love aquarium.
Yeah, it's like it's a living piece of furniture almost. It's really nice. That's what I think. Yeah.
And there's some art to it. You know, some can be just really pretty and relaxing, and you know, you look at it and like a lot of your worries go away. Nothing matters but what's going on in that little world.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just by curiosity, do you have a male or a female seahorse right now?
He's a male.
He's a male.
Yeah.
Man, I hope you pair them up, and it'll be nice for you to have a little bunch of baby seahorses. That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then tie it back. You said you bred the blue ram. So what did you do to breed your fish, or what was your secret?
Well, what I would do, because I like to nerd out on stuff, and I'm kind of like OCD about it. So I started reading about their natural habitat, and you know, I would test for pH, and I would try to bring it down, like I said, through either wood products that release the tannins that bring it down, or I'd go collect oak leaves. You know, I read that they would usually breed after it rained, and so you were encouraged to do a water change at a slightly cooler temperature to replicate that. And so I just geeked out on studying that particular fish and everything that is considered good husbandry. And then I tried to do that, and then they had babies, and like it blew my mind, because you know, I always thought fish just laid eggs and swam off, but here you had, you know, these really pretty little peacock of a fish pairing up with another one, and him and his wife are fighting with every other couple that paired up, and anything that comes around them to protect this little batch of eggs. And they're fanning them to keep them from, you know, developing fungus, and just protecting them. And then you come home one day and you see this little cloud around them, and you walk up and you see the mom move a certain way, and that little cloud goes, and then the dad stands over it.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause they're talking to each other. When the mom moves, she's telling them there's danger, and so all the fish know to just like turn into this tiny little writhing ball, and the dad knows to stand over them, and they're ready to hit any fish or anybody that comes around. And then they take them to go look for food in the fish tank, and it's like, it's just mind blowing that fish do this. And I've been lucky to know, like, folks who've even gone to Africa to collect cichlids. Like, they went diving, they worked out all the permits, and they had these fish shipped back so that they could try to breed them by understanding, you know, the husbandry needed for that. And so through that experience, I go to the Conservatory of Flowers one time to check out their aquatic gardening exhibit. And I see some rams in the tank, and they got eggs. Wow. And they're protecting them. And then I look at the leaves, and you see the bubbles coming off of the tips of the leaves. And there's a field trip of kids there at the place. And so I go up to the staff, and I go, hey, man, you know, little kids always learn about photosynthesis, but here they can see the actual oxygen coming off of the plant. Yeah. As you see the bubbles just coming off of it. And I go, and then look, you got these fish right here that have bred, and they're protecting their batch of eggs. You know, you guys should be telling the kids this and showing it to them. And so they offered me a job as a docent. and so then I worked at because it was a volunteer thing. Like, I had to take a day off work. Yeah. You know, catch the mega bus there. But I was going like every month and volunteering at this like incredible place. And, you know, I was offered that gig because of what I knew about fish. And they're like, we actually don't know anything about this. You know, aquarium store came and set it up, and it's just our exhibit. And so that was a really good experience that came out of, you know, just the love for this hobby.
Yeah, yeah. So is that exhibit still up, or is it closed down?
No, I don't think they've brought it back. They generally run exhibits for, I think, 3 months.
Oh, okay,
and then they'll change it out.
Yeah, yeah. Cause I think, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, because I think San Francisco has an aquarium, right? Like a Monterey Bay aquarium, but San Francisco aquarium or something like that. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, they have one over by Pier 39, I think.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice one. I think I was a member there for like 2 years.
Oh wow, that's cool. Man, so are you into
That used to be a thing. I'd always go places that have public aquariums to check it out. So that was like what determined our vacation.
Yeah, yeah. So by curiosity, do you like African or Central and South American cichlids more? Oh, there we go.
All right.
We're back. So I was saying, do you like Central or South American cichlid? I mean, African cichlids more.
Oh, definitely the South Americans, and I've actually seen some really beautiful Mexican cichlids. And, you know, being Mexican, there's a little part of me that would like to have a breeding pair of Mexican cichlids.
No, I feel you, because honestly, Mexico has warm waters, and I wanted to get some of their like corals and their fish, but I don't know if they're protected or something, but you don't really see anything besides Mexican turbo snails, and I don't even know if those are from Mexico.
Yeah, I think Jacques Cousteau called the Sea of Cortez there by La Paz the world's aquarium, and so I'm guessing they have really beautiful aqua life. But you're right, you don't hear a lot about it. The only thing I have heard, and it wasn't like good news as far as like poaching of you know, these dolphins. The smallest dolphins are called vaquitas. And then, you know, I am aware that like a lot of stuff that was fairly common in the aquarium hobby is really expensive now because of Hawaii just passed, a ban on
Yeah, that's true.
exporting and fishing there.
Yeah, cause a lot of bans been happening. Cause I've been in this hobby, well, the saltwater hobby for like 15 maybe plus years, and I've noticed a lot of that has been happening. Cause at first it started with the live rock, and then they started doing the cement rock, and then Fiji, and then Indonesia, and all these bans started happening. Cause I guess we're putting too much stress in the ocean, and I don't know. I guess that's why I kind of started my own thing, try to like help people with their fish tanks. So try to limit the stress we have in the ocean. But you're totally right. So because in the Hawaiian ban, I wanted like those yellow tanks were really popular. Now you can't even get them. I wanted to get the like a flame angel tank. I can't even do that anymore. So so I mean, I always tell people the fish you see right now in the hobby, they're not gonna be available maybe like 5, 10 years from now, and people don't believe me until it happens, and it's just I've seen it too many times.
Yeah, even the corals that happen. Mushrooms used to be like the easiest.
Yeah.
Corals, you can get them for $3 for $10.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you couldn't get them for a while, and they kind of became a desirable coral.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing at some point, they might just go back to what they were. I had a tank that I bought really small,
Mm-hmm.
and after about 2 months, he was just a bully to the seahorse, and so I traded him back.
Yeah.
Like a week before the ban, and the guy's like, "Oh man, you blew it because these are hella expensive now."
Damn, I feel you. Even the gold torches, they were only like 40, $60. Now they're like 2, 3, 4, $500. I'm like, wow. In a matter of a few years, it's incredible.
Yeah, you never know what the next new thing is going to be, and it is that just wanting to have the latest. I do see that. I kind of followed the saga of this coral called the purple monster. And,
Oh yeah, yeah.
on the forums, they're like the mother colonies in San Francisco across the street from the zoo. And talking about they're going to go visit it, and I'm all pumped up thinking, damn, I want to go visit it too.
Yeah.
Just to see it. So, you get this coral that pops up, and it becomes the coral.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel because back then the posting xenia was a thing. Like nobody could really keep them alive. Right now, Ganiporas, the Ganis are really popular right now. Back then, no, they weren't that popular. Now they're really popular.
Yeah, it definitely changes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's very true. So by curiosity, you said you like the South American cichlids more. How comes that? Is it because they're more peaceful and you could add more fish with them, or?
I think it seemed easier to take care of them for me. The guy I knew who went to Africa, they actually built a house, like a 2,000 square foot house. Wow. For just fish tanks. Uh-huh. And like monitor lizards and a rat colony to feed the monitors. Like he's just this animal dude.
Yeah.
And he sunk those tomato, the big rigs they carry the tomatoes on the back.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sunk one of those in the house, and it's a cichlid, an African cichlid tank.
Wow.
Over 1,000 gallons, and so he like would offer me the fish, like I could have fish.
Uh-huh.
And one time I saw some little shell dwellers. I thought they were just really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Like with half their body hanging out the shell, and he said, okay, you got to add muriatic acid, and he got into the chemistry to me, and I don't have a chemistry background because the Africans, I think that the hard water is not going to be easily found, where I think I could just sit on water with oak leaves and the tannins and bring it down. So I think I went with the South Americans because it was just cheaper and easier to provide them the type of water they needed than the Africans.
Oh, okay, right on.
So it was a chemistry thing, actually. The chemistry of the Africans scared me away, to put it bluntly.
Yeah. Because honestly, fresh water, the pHs range so much that people don't really pay attention, but that's like the number one important thing. Because some fish like the acidic, swamp-like water. Others like that basic, like kind of like beach water almost, like you said. Like because like Australian rainbows and stuff, they like the higher pH and stuff, and it's just a variety of water conditions, and a lot of people try to just have one water condition for all the fish, and sometimes it doesn't work that well. So
I would see people mix them. Early on, that became important, the pH.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, because there's a lot of Africans that are really pretty, but I knew they would not be happy in the kind of environment I can provide.
Yeah, right on. So, by curiosity, what are your favorite top fish and your favorite top corals? Fresh and salt, it doesn't matter.
So, for the corals, I really, really like the mushrooms just for ease. And I think my favorite is actually the nuclear sunset. It's not the mounts.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as expensive, but it's really bright lime green orange. Green with orange dots on it.
Oh wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, it's really pretty. And for fish, that's a hard one.
It could be many. It doesn't that not just it doesn't have to be one.
So the fish that I would want, I can't have because of the corals. As a little kid, if I think back to those days, the dang, it's been so long since I even wanted it because it didn't seem feasible. Oh shit! There's a green parrot outside my house. We don't have parrots here.
Yeah.
It would be the and speaking of, it would be the clown parrotfish.
Oh wow! Yeah. That's cool.
Is that the ones with the white spot? The parrotfish I always thought were incredibly beautiful, and I think the clown one is probably the prettiest one. I've never had it. It would obviously eat everything in my tank.
Yeah.
And for freshwater, there's a lot of exotic ones I've wanted. Just can't provide what they need to be happy. Like I would want an archerfish.
Archerfish? Okay. Yeah. Those are cool.
Put a thing, and I have spider webs and it shoots them out. That would be tight. Like even to turn my pond into something that's suitable for them over the summer.
Yeah.
But as far as fish that I've kept, I think the rams.
The rams?
Blue.
Yeah.
Them and the discus.
Yeah. For sure. Blue rams are really nice.
Yeah, they got a lot of personality. I've always wanted epistogrammas, which I think would be similar to rams, maybe just a little bit harder to keep.
Yeah.
And I haven't had those, but I thinking about a fish.
Yeah.
The house is gonna have too much humidity to accommodate my fish keeping dreams. So
yeah, right.
I'm probably gonna put a little shed or something.
Right on. And you said you have a pond. You said.
I have 4 of them.
Whoa, you got 4 ponds.
Yeah.
What's the biggest one and the smallest one?
I think the biggest is 164 gallons.
Mm-hmm.
And the smallest one is probably like 70.
Wow.
There's one like right outside the porch. So if you sit on the porch, you can look down, and they all have fish in them. And horsetail and like taro. So they look. They're as much about keeping plants that are bog plants as they are about keeping fish.
Yeah.
And then the one in the backyard, I have like this log across it, so it looks like I'm trying to replicate the jungle I wanted to live in as a little kid.
Yeah.
And they have ductwork on the top and lily pads growing out of it. So, um, when I would read these books about the jungle, there was quicksand and like it was dangerous and you didn't know what was out there.
Uh-huh.
And so I tried to replicate something that, like, if I don't tell you the pond is there, even though you're looking at it, you don't know it's there.
Wow, that's cool.
And, yeah, a lot of kids that come over and like dogs, they all fall in. My kids have brought their friends over, and I'm like, you go in the backyard, tell them about the pond, and they might not. And next thing you know, Dad, they fell in the pond. And so, because you can't tell it's there, the ductwork that covers it looks like it's just grass.
Yeah.
And there's grass growing over the edges. And I do keep a log halfway in it and out of it because I want it to be a wildlife pond. So I don't have any filtration in it at all.
Okay.
When they were new, I would throw the little bales of hay in there because somehow as it breaks down, it prohibits the growth of the green water.
Okay.
Now
it's
clear because it's just aged and settled. But I got like a taro plant growing out of it. I have a lotus growing out of it. I probably will put some hyphen loaches in it and then grow them out and sell them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. When I had discus, I would buy them for about $25, maybe quarter size, and then I would grow them out and sell them for $200. The highest one I sold was $300.
Wow.
And it became a display fish at that Capitol Aquarium. So
cool.
I did grow to a point where I was making money off the freshwater and it was paying for itself. When I got the first pond, I bought a lily pad for $5 at Petco. And then it grows a root. And if you cut the root, all that becomes a new plant. And lily pads are $40 at the stores. And so I would go there and trade them. I'd bring 10 of them in. And give me a $200 store credit. And I have to cut them anyways just to keep it thinned out in the pond, or it would just be one big ass root. Yeah. And so I was making money there, and then I was growing the fish out and selling them back. And the discus were cool because, like, me and my wife, we would watch TV, and the fish would line up, and they would watch the TV too. And they would like follow us around the house. So, like, they seem to have personalities. Cichlids do. Yeah. And then my friend that was trying to breed them as well, we went to buy a mated pair in the Bay Area somewhere. I don't even recall. I think it was close to San Jose. Okay. And this dude, he lived on a golf course. Wow. And he had two brand new Mercedeses. And it was all from selling discus. Like, 2 rooms in the house were just tanks. And then the garage was tanks. And these were mated pairs. And sometimes mated pairs were like, I don't know what it is now, but they were like $1,000. Yeah. Especially if you had, specific colors of them. Or that whole F1, F2. And so it did like give me a spark. Like, man, if I could make money at a hobby that I love, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. So by curiosity, you say you have no filtration in your ponds, but do you have like a power head or anything to move water, or is it just all natural?
It's all natural. I do have I don't know the name of it, and I do know the name of it, but I don't know if there's a freshwater calupra. But anyways, there's underwater plants to provide oxygenation, and then the top plants like the ductwork and lily pads that keep the water cool. Yeah. In the summer, I get frogs or toads, probably a frog. And it's been pretty neat. I was sitting out there one time, and I see this dragonfly, and it starts hitting the pond like in this this loop, and it's laying its eggs because that part of their life cycle is underwater.
Yeah.
And so it's laying eggs, and then these hummingbirds come, and they start fighting with the dragonflies because hummingbirds are really territorial.
Yeah.
And while this is going on, you see these two little eyes pop up in the pond, and it's watching you. And I'm sitting there smoking, like watching all this, like, damn, that look crazy. And you see the eyes making their way to the dragonflies, which are still trying to mate while fighting with the hummingbirds. And then the frog jumps out and he tries to get the dragonflies, but he misses them and they fly away. And then they come back again, and then the process repeats itself. And so, to me, that was the epitome of having a pond, was seeing that wildlife interaction. And if you have power heads and pumps, you might not get the frogs because the eggs would be pulled through it and destroyed. So, it's a specific type of pond, and they're called wildlife ponds just to kind of, create a little oasis for the wildlife, around you. So unfortunately, I do get, raccoons that come in there, and they try to get the fish, and drink from it, and who knows what other wildlife.
I feel you. Do you heat up your pond, or is it just whatever is the temperature?
Whatever the temperature is. I don't do anything to them, and except put plants in them to try to make them look pretty.
Right on.
So there's my wife. She does buy this little solar fountain for the one in the front. So the two in the back, they're kind of hidden, so you don't know they're there. In the front, we have this patio of pavers, and in the middle is a rectangle, and that's the pond.
Oh,
so that was a little bit more formal. It's just in the middle of this patio.
Right on. So do you feel like your freshwater ponds and the freshwater tanks and saltwater tanks, they're all pretty much similar, how they function and stuff?
Yeah, I think once you have the experience, and again, because I'm impatient, even though I would read stuff, I would jump the gun against what I know I shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of the downfall. But as you get experience, I think it becomes really easy. And for me, the goal has always been to be as low maintenance as possible, and it's really easy, I think, with a freshwater planted tank, especially if you have a lot of plants. Your problem is trimming the plants so it still looks nice.
Yeah.
Because they're eating up all the stuff, and maybe putting some iron in the soil, and so there's just this goal to create a balance, so that you don't have to meddle with it. And while a part of me does want to go to more technology, a part of me wants to have, ideally just a saltwater tank that just the water is moving, nothing else.
Yeah.
And a light, and my fish load is low enough, or this is good enough that it's all. I've seen YouTube videos. I couldn't tell you who it was, but they got some that 2 years no water change. and I don't know, for someone that's doing hella water changes, that sounds appealing.
Yeah. So how often you do your water changes? What's your maintenance schedule like?
It's weekly.
Weekly?
Yeah, it's weekly, and there's 24, 25 gallons in there with rock and sand displacement. I do 10 a week.
10 a week? Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot, I think.
Yeah, it depends, because sometimes you need it. It depends on whatever you're keeping in there. Like on my tank, I only do one water change, maybe once a month, but I don't have any fish in there, though, to really change the water chemistry, you know what I mean? So a lot's your fish and stuff. Because this little tank, it took about, you probably can't even see it, it's too far. But this little tank took about 1 year to complete, but now I'm just letting everything start growing and stuff. But there's like the frog spawns, the rostozoas. I should have cleaned it. Like I said, I was too busy trying to set up, and I just forgot to clean it. But and then I got some SPS coral. Huh?
Is that your only tank?
Yeah, I take care of some other tanks also. Well, but that's my only personal one, and really I just have it because I take this to go do sales presentations. So it's so small, like literally I could just pick it up. Like I could just pick it up and then just move it wherever I want. And I take it to the stores or wherever, or bait shops and stuff, and I just start doing my presentation and start selling saltwater. But yeah, I do the chemistry work so people don't have to be messing with the chemistry, and it's a lot easier for them, and they notice a lot of results because the people I do help that use my salt water, they have different problems, and sometimes pet stores ask them, "Oh, who's your fish guy?" and they don't have a fish guy. They're just doing their own thing. You know what I mean? Because they keep different corals alive, and because I have people keep like elegance corals alive and stuff like that, and the fish store doesn't believe them that they're the ones that take care of the tank. But all I do, like I said, is just I just take care of their water chemistry. So I feel like whoever uses my salt water, I feel like it's my tank that they have, and it's like my responsibility. And people that do use my water chemistry, I give them the free corals and stuff. Whatever I have, I just give them out for free. Like right now, I was working on a video. That's why I kind of postponed our interview date, because I'm doing a video and I'm fragging some of my corals and putting them in a little tank right now. Because right now I'm working on this 14-gallon tank right now for somebody else, and like literally from no corals, I'm starting to build them up. You know what I mean? And all my videos are just evolutions of the same aquarium, but that's all I do. But this little tank's really nice. Like I said, it's been up for a year, maybe longer than a year now, probably a year and a half. But it's completed in terms of coral, but now I'm just letting them grow out, and they're growing pretty fast. That I just have to keep trimming them, like pruning them and stuff, and finding homes for them. I guess is my next thing. Is just finding homes for the corals I got.
Yeah, those rastas, they were. I remember they were pretty desirable. So.
Yeah, for so long they were. I mean, to me, they're still some of my favorite polyps. I don't really like polyps too much because they grow too fast, but I noticed the rastas grow a lot slower than most coral. I mean, most polyps and stuff. So that's the only reason they put them in there. But I got 2 frog spawns. I got 2 chalices. I got a Space Invader and a RAZA Rampage. The 2 chalices. Those are the ones I got. I glued them on the glass. I didn't have enough water flow, so I just put them on the glass.
How many gallons is that?
This is a 2-gallon tank. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it seems easy, but honestly, small tanks are pretty hard. And the only reason this one's alive because I look at it almost every day. But I don't really mess with it anymore. It's just I just let everything grow out now. But it's pretty easy. The most important thing besides the water quality is just the little light that I got on there. It's just a little Kessel. It's just. And that's the same light that I kind of promote for people that are new, because you could adjust the white and the blue. Yeah, I see. Probably, I don't know if you can tell, but it goes from white or blue. But no matter what spectrum you put, they did that specific company. They manufactured the LED lights to grow corals at any light spectrum. But because if you put it all blue, it still has white in there, and if you go all white, there's still some blue in there. So it's a really cool company. The Kessel, I believe they're also in the Bay Area. So I just thought, might as well support like a local company, even if it's like a corporate or whatever. But it's a really cool light. Cause I've had it. I've recommended people like the other ones of where you adjust every single light, but I find it's a lot harder for people that are new to enter the hobby and like figure out the light. Like, oh, you need this much blue, this much white, this much red. While this company, they just kind of did that for you. So I recommend this light for beginners. It's pretty easy for beginners. And this is the smallest model. It's like about 130 in Amazon. But the new tank that I'm working on, it also has this light on there. So like I said, it's just really beginner friendly. And I wanted to show people you don't really need to spend a lot of money to get really good results. All it is the water chemistry and the lighting. But if I had more water flow, I would probably have nothing but SPS coral in there. But I only got one. It's a Rainbow Monty. But for sure, the water flow and like there's no skimmer in here either. Are my limiting factors. But other than that, like I said, if I had a bigger tank, more water flow and a skimmer, and I would have like a lot of SPS coral in here for sure.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't think, I know that the common understanding is that the smaller the tank, the harder it is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And so that's very impressive. You had it for so long like that. Dang, I forgot the question. Yeah, I've heard good thing about the Kessels. Do you have, I don't remember, do you get coralline algae?
Oh yeah, for sure. Only if you change the light spectrum, it'll take a long time for it to see. Cause right now you can see the. Oh man, it's hard to. Cause right now it's hard to see the coralline because it's in the white, but I grow it under the bluer light, and there's quite a lot of coralline growing on the top rocks, but in the bottom there's not so much because of lack of light. Man, I can't even see. Yeah, there's not so much because of lack of light, but up here there's a lot of coralline right there. These two rocks have quite a lot of coralline growing on them.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's one of the issues I got. I don't get any coralline.
Well,
So I think that's
yeah, when you introduce it to your tank, you gotta make sure you have the same light spectrum. Try not to change your light spectrum. And then no matter what salt you're using, have your pH high. Add a little bit of baking soda and maybe some hydroxide, or people call it calcium hydroxide or kalkwasser.
I have that, and I made a drip.
Oh yeah.
Or I haven't used it because I don't know if I made things harder on myself, but I just thought if I do a lot of water changes, it kind of, maybe I don't gotta do that. And when I would test the alkalinity, I always had high pH, and like alkalinity maybe 11, 10 and a half, which I think is good. And so, yeah, maybe I need to start dosing again.
Yeah.
I think
My recommendation is when you add your RO water, when your water evaporates, just add a little bit of baking soda, or I use baking soda and the kalkwasser together, just like a 50-50, and I add it to my fresh water before I dump it in there. Because if you just dump fresh water in there, it becomes too acidic, and your coralline might struggle to take off. But the secret is just have a high pH. Try to keep it as close to 8.4, 8.3. And believe it or not, I've never tested this tank. I don't know what the levels are besides what I know I measure in the scale, and that's pretty much it. But I've never tested this aquarium in terms of like, oh, what's my calcium level, this, and that, how much they're consuming. I've never tested this tank. So, I mean, I'm curious to know what it's at, but I haven't tested it in a long time. Well, ever. All I do is, like you said, how you said, I just look at the salt meter, and that's all the testing I need.
Yeah, I had bought one of the nice alkalinity meters that you just put the tube in there and it gives you the reading.
Was it the Hannah or something like that?
Huh?
The Hannah checker or something?
Yeah, something like that. It's a little tube.
Yeah.
When I first got it, I was testing all the time just because it was fun, but then, I don't know.
No,
like I said, it's you got to be committed to this hobby because at least for me, it's been a lot of work.
Yeah, because it's a huge learning curve for sure. But like I said, I've been doing it for so long, I can just look at your water and know pretty much what's going on. But it's a lot of experience, honestly.
Yeah, that's it. It just, I wish I would have took advantage of other people's experience. learned the hard way. But
Yeah. Have you seen my Raja Rampage video?
I did.
Yeah, that was my last coral added in there, but I don't know if you also saw when I first set up this aquarium, it was all brown rock, it was dried up, everything. Did you see that one?
No,
I'll send
check
it.
it out though.
I'll send it out so you can see a huge contrast of how they look, but
Yeah, that looks good.
yeah, it hasn't changed much. And then I got a GoPro. I'm gonna start doing videos underwater on this little tank. I have a little GoPro. Might as well.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, but this tank's pretty much done. I can't add no more corals because once they grow out, they start stinging each other, and I don't want to add. I don't like having too much dense coral in there.
Yeah. Do you get copepods and amphipods in there?
Oh yeah, the copepods. I could only keep the really small ones. The bigger ones they die out because I don't feed the aquarium.
Yeah.
But the little tiny guys, there's definitely a lot of them in there, but they're really small. But yeah, I got quite a lot of them. Like they're probably the reason why they eat all the algae. Well, I don't got that much algae because I only got like a few snails, and I guess the copepods just eat up all the algae. I hardly scrub the glass or anything, just because I don't want them to die.
Yeah, they gotta eat.
Yeah, I mean I might scrub it down, maybe the front panel for like a video or something, but not really. I just let it all be. Like I said, it's a self-sustaining little ecosystem that I wanted to build. Try to be as much, like how you said, as maintenance free as possible. And for me, one water change a month is pretty easy.
Before this tank, um, like I mentioned, it'd been maybe a decade before, and the reason I stopped, I had a 55 gallon.
Yeah.
And sometimes my wife behind my back would top it off, and she'd do it straight from the friggin' hose. The tank was like close to the outside door.
Yeah.
And it was still thriving. Like everything was just thriving. And in that one, I had a really deep sand bed, like a 6-inch, because that was the main filtration I was going to try to use. And I loved it because the front of it, and for like a deep sand bed, it changes the dynamic. Like you don't get the same out of 2 inches that you would out of like a 6-inch sand bed. It became like the front of the glass covered in tunnels, and you would see the pods like living under the sand, like an ant farm.
Yeah.
And it was where the microfauna and all that was more interesting to me than the actual fish.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because we want to grow like the coralline algae, the pods. We want all that stuff, right?
Yeah, the more the merrier. It's like a reflection of a healthy tank. The more stuff that is naturally living there.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people that are new don't look at that stuff, but once you've been in the hobby, be like, oh, you want that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel that. I go through that in every single aquarium that I set up or help people out. Like, oh, let's get your pod population up, or let's get your coralline algae up.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Yeah, so is there anything that you want to share, your last few thoughts before we close this up? Shout outs or how do people go contact you? Anything?
I would just say that, like, if I could share that I've grown personally, where like pretty stuff that maybe is destined to die because no one has kept it alive. I tend to just leave that in the ocean. I don't try to get that, and so that is why I suggested a captive bred seahorse if someone was to get one. I think that there's some great challenges in breeding saltwater fish that are not, I think as difficult as discus were to breed, I think it was, way more challenging to get the first clownfish to breed. And now they have, it's more common. And so there's a lot of opportunities there to geek out on perfect water parameters, cultivating rotifers to feed the baby fish, the fry, and that's there's a lot of room for growth in this hobby, from a simple planted tank with a bubbler and a beta to breeding hard to keep fish, to help with preserving populations in the wild. And so as much as anyone could do that, that would be great. I don't have the capacity or understanding to do that now, but hopefully one day, it's a very beautiful hobby. I do hope that we can see more RAZA in it, and I'll follow up offline unless you still have a little bit more time. I'd be interested in hearing about your salt mix.
Oh yeah, for sure. Damn, I don't even know if I have a sample with me. I only got a little bit made, but well, for my salt mix, since I kind of know what I'm doing. Oh, what I'm talking about. So for the salt mix, so what I do is I measure all the magnesium, the potassium, the calcium, the salt level. The pure sodium chloride, and I measure it on a scale. So the only thing our friend or whoever's in the hobby, the hobbyist, has to do is just measure the right amount of salt water. So I mix between 1 gallon mixtures, 5 gallon, 10, 15, all the way to 50. I could do more, but the bags are just too heavy. But so whatever mixture you use, let's say you mix 5 gallons at a time, or you do 10-gallon water changes, just mix 10 gallons with the actual salt bag, because the whole bag, you gotta mix the whole thing. And the salt that I use, it's not fine, it's like granular, so it's like the most pure of the element, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the salts that they use for, like, let's say the Red Sea salt or anything like that, they add other chemicals like anticoagulants, so the salt just pours out kind of like in a bottle or something. But all these other chemicals, I don't add in there. I just added the major elements in there, and then when I do the water changes, since you saw the RAZA video, I just add like a few drops of like the amino acids, the biological stuff, and the trace elements that come with it, and iodine. I dose iodine for like the inverts, like the snails and hermit crabs and stuff. It helps them grow, but it also disinfects the corals and stuff. But what I do, since I do the chemistry work, like I said, all you gotta do is just mix the same amount of water. Mix the right amount of water, and that's pretty much it. And just use it in there. Like if I know if let's say you use my salt water or whatever, I know I could get you to get more sensitive corals in your ecosystem. Even if they're soft coral and you don't get the SPS coral because of the flow, because of your seahorses. I know you could have like a nice beautiful elegances, torches, all the LPS and the soft corals like in this tank. You could easily have them, like the frog spawn and everything. You could easily have them. And let's say the people that I do know that are using my water chemistry, I give a lot of these corals for free. Like I'm working on the video. I fragged my rostas, but this frog spawn is starting to take over, and I need to find homes for them pretty soon. And they're also gonna be going to other people's aquariums that use my salt water. But like I said, all I do is I handle the whole chemistry, so you don't have to really worry about it. All you gotta do is just have a good lighting. I see you have pretty good lighting, and then your water flow, and that's pretty much it. Like, I simplified it as much as possible for people, and I'm trying to grow in the internet space or whatever. But in person, I've helped a lot of people. Like I've helped pet stores, people from NASA, just everybody. Like, I've literally helped everybody. People from different countries, Australia, people out of state, like Nevada, Vegas, everywhere. And I could ship my salt anywhere because I have like a business deal with FedEx, and they help me out because the salt's pretty heavy. So like a 50-gallon bag mixture, I could ship it for just $12 anywhere, including Alaska and Hawaii in 2 days. So I'm kind of growing slowly and surely, but like I said, I want to get my product out or get more recognized, more brand recognition. So I guess that's how you saw me on, was it Incredible Javier show?
Right.
Yeah. He said he wants to have me on, talk about science and just science or whatever, science and education or whatever. But like I said, I just try to promote to RAZA, because I learned if you try to sell to everybody, you end up selling to nobody. So I just thought get more RAZA in there, in the hobby, and then work my way up from right there. But all I do is just handle the water chemistry for people. And I wish I had a salt a salt bag with me, but like I said, I used it up, and I have to kind of get some. I got some in the car, but that's kind of far right now.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, as mentioned, I do have that hospital tank
Uh-huh.
that I'm not doing anything with. So I'll I do have to go to the Bay Area pretty soon here. So I'll try to reach out to get some salt from you,
All
and
right.
then maybe I'll use that exclusively in the hospital tank. And and so and I'll also try to connect you with the Raza that works at the local fish store,
All right.
because they might be able to even you know use your sand somehow, or
Right on.
not sand, salt.
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, I'm interested in seeing how it works. And
Yeah, yeah. If you're down to try it, let me know, and we'll definitely work something out. I mean, I could always either just drop it off where you're at, kind of, because I'm not gonna say where you're at, but you're not that far from me, honestly. And like I said, I could show you how to do it or whatever. Anything you like or anything you need is what, like I said, I help people out. But I know if you use that hospital tank and use the salt water I use, you'll yeah, you'll have quite a lot of different corals you never thought you would expect.
cool. That sounds pretty good to me.
All right, for sure. But yeah, just keep in touch. I'll send you an email or send me an email or whatever, or just send me an address and I'll ship some salt to you, or I can just
Okay.
drop it off, whatever.
Um, yeah, all right. We'll follow up with an email, um, and then we'll take it from there. But thank you again so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure getting to share how I got into the hobby. I appreciate you giving me that opportunity.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you, Thank you, Mauro, for being a guest on the show for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. All right,
Take
so I'll
care.
let you go. Take care.
You too.
All right.